What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to review Mortal Kombat 1, the Chaos Reigns expansion pack. WB actually reached out to me and gave me a code for this. I remember they gave me a code for MK1, but I was not expecting this. This did catch me off guard, so I fired it up. Now, here's the deal. What I want to do in this video is I just want to cover, obviously, what comes with this expansion at launch. Now, a big part, honestly, for me, is going to be the post-launch stuff. So literally, Ghostface, if you know anything about my channel, you might have seen I've made 1 or maybe 400 or so Scream YouTube videos, okay? So having Ghostface coming to this is enormous to me, and I was gonna find a way to play as Ghostface. I don't care if I had to buy the whole expansion. I don't care if I had to just buy Ghostface himself. I was gonna play as that character. So I was already going to get this, but again, I was kind of shocked that I got the review code. So I want to thank them for that, but I will not hold back because I liked parts of this. I think, if we want to talk about is it worth the money, which we definitely should do, right? This is an expensive pack. This is $50 if you're just buying this thing. Now, I think it's cheaper if you bought like the deluxe edition back in the day. But if you bought MK1 and you want to get this thing separate and you're expecting the story stuff and then this new roster, this new wave of characters, right? $50. Is it worth $50? Well, to me, it's going to come down to how much you care about these new characters, right? Because at launch, and obviously playing a huge part of the actual story of Chaos Reigns, right, is Noob Saibot, Cyrax, and Sector, right? Those three. And I will say, those three fighting, I actually really, really love. I am not good at these games. I've said that 1,000 times. I really do want to focus on the story, which we'll get to in a second. But I think these three are very, very solid characters. Specifically in the story, you play as Cyrax and Sector early, and then you play as Noob Saibot later. But I loved all three. I think they are great additions. And I'm talking specifically the combat. I know some people have had problems with the swapping of Cyrax and Sector. I didn't mind all that much because I was really just trying to see the quality, of the story, which I thought was so-so. At times it was good, at times it wasn't so good. But I think in terms of like purely fighting as these characters, I did have a lot of fun. And like I said, then you have the next wave, right? You got Ghostface, the T-1000, and Conan the Barbarian. And again, I would have paid upwards of $10, $20 just to play Ghostface. Call me whatever you want in the comments, but that's my price, for a character like that. So for me, I think it would have been worth it simply for Ghostface. But, all right, at launch here, you're paying the money. You get 3 playable characters, but you also get the story. So how is the story? Well, look, if you didn't watch my past stuff, leading into MK1 last year, I actually went back and I actually played many Mortal Kombat games. I went back to Mortal Kombat 9, and I played the whole grouping of those games. I played Mortal Kombat versus DC. I even went back to play like Shaolin Monks. I really tried. I think I played like 6 Mortal Kombat games right before MK1 came out. And I gotta be honest, I got into the story of the last couple MK games a lot. I think MK9, MK10, 11 got messy. 11 got very, very messy, but I actually still liked it. I really did. I liked the DLC to it. I'm kind of a sucker for those storylines, and although I do think it maybe peaked at 10, I think 10 is just when they were kind of firing at all cylinders, and maybe they kind of trapped themselves because of some of the character deaths and just some of the stuff that was happening there. I do think that was the high note of the franchise, and MK1, it did disappoint me in terms of the story at the end. I think MK1 was building up something kind of cool, and it just didn't deliver. So when it came into this, well, okay, I gotta be honest, I wasn't expecting much. I really wasn't. I didn't even know if I was gonna play this story. So going in, I was like, all right, you know what? I'm familiar with these characters. I can think back a year ago. I can try to remember like these 6 different games, right? Let me re-experience it, right? Let me get back into it. And I would say it starts very strong. I don't know much about Havoc, like beyond MK1, but I think he's very cool. He's I love his design. I love his voice. I think he's a kind of intimidating character. Now, the issue is it starts strong and it builds, and then probably like 30 to 40 minutes in, it kind of shifts. It shifts tone, and it becomes a multiverse story. And a really, I would say, throwaway multiverse story. Things happen just because. Anything that they were building in the first 40 minutes is kind of just pushed aside, because a lot of this game, I don't want to spoil the whole thing, but a lot of the game is just like Havoc's trial. A group of people go into, this Havoc dimension, and they get stuck basically in this maze. And that is a good chunk of the game, and it just feels very B-plot. It feels like, if you're watching a movie, right, and there's like the main cast, then there's that side character that goes on that B-plot where it kind of like comes and goes, but you don't really care. It's not very good. It's not in line with like the main story. That's what most of this DLC is. It's not terrible, and I think that's probably where I would differentiate myself. From what I've seen, I've seen people tear the story to shreds so far. Just like a blanket, view that I've kind of taken, to see what people thought of it. People are not happy, and I can see why people are not happy. But for me, it's like, if you're going in expecting not much, if you're going in, you're expecting like just some kind of fun, random, almost like adventure story that doesn't really push any stakes, is definitely like an add-on. And that's the thing, like, it feels like an add-on. Now, I don't know if an add-on should actually feel like an add-on, especially when you're paying $50 for it. So, like, again, somebody like me, see, if Ghostface wasn't part of this thing, the story would have been my primary reason for playing this. And I've said that before. I mean, that really, I think, separates me from a lot of the other creators out there, right? I've gotten better at these games. I think if you quiz me or you take me on now versus 2 years ago, I am like 1,000 times better. Again, I mean, you play 6 Mortal Kombat games in such short time, you do get better. You get better at the game. So I have improved, and I don't really struggle when playing the story. And I play it on normal, whatever the medium difficulty is. It's a challenge, but it's not too much. I can pull off combos, but not too extensively. But for me, if Ghostface wasn't in here, it would be the story, and I do think I would be let down, because the story is, it is what it is. It's this B plot, it's this side thing, and I think it really, if I were to like put my finger on it, like, well, why, like, what lets you down about it? They bring Havoc in, and in fact, this actually kind of hurts the ending of Mortal Kombat 1, because the ending of Mortal Kombat 1 is this massive, like, multiversal fight, right? And then at the end, they introduce Havoc, and it's like, oh, shoot, he's gonna, like, unleash chaos. Like, this is gonna be a legit, like, next arc, basically, right? And he's just not threatening. He's threatening in the first 40 minutes. But after that, he kind of becomes a joke. He's always like 2 steps behind, even though he's supposed to be in control. And it's just like, all stakes are lost. The beginning of this DLC sets up stakes for several characters. You feel like, oh, shoot, are they going to like take, and you think about like MK11's DLC, like they do some major stuff in that DLC. In fact, you have to play that DLC to even, get used to what they're doing in 1, to even know what's going on in 1, right? You need that. I don't think anybody needs the DLC for MK1. I don't think, in fact, does it change anything? No, in my opinion, it really just gives them an opportunity to tell a B-side story and introduce variants of characters. Now, that part I didn't really mind, right? Because a lot of the enemies you're fighting in the story here are variants, which we saw at the end of MK1, right? You see these thousands of characters, and some of them look wacky. They have, like, mohawks, and it's, like, green hair, and, like, they have eye patches, kind of like piratey, and some of them are, like, medieval. Like, it's just all over the place, right? And, I mean, I can respect that in the sense that maybe they're just, like, we don't care. Maybe we want to flaunt our artistic skills, right? Like, we know what Scorpion has looked like for so long. What does he look like when we can really just go crazy on him because he's from the multiverse? And that's kind of what this DLC allows them to do, is just do whatever. Like, you want a new Katana and Melina? Well, we'll just have you fight one. I mean, they'll be on screen for 20 seconds, but, like, here's a new character art, right? Like, here's what they look like now. And I mean, again, like, in some ways, if you take it for what it is, it's fine. I think it's fine. It's a fine story. It doesn't really do anything. It doesn't have like heightened stakes. It's got good acting. It's got, things like that. But, it doesn't push the story in any meaningful way, which we've seen in the past. Even MK1 pushes the story, I would say, in a meaningful way. So, yeah, I guess in that way it disappointed me. So, again, as I said in the beginning of this video, for me, it really depends on the kind of person that you are, right? Like, why do you play MK1? Do you play it for the characters? Because, I would say, I think prices for these things are getting kind of outrageous. I think $50 for, 6 characters at the end of the day. And I think you get, early access for Combat Pack 2. So I think maybe is more than 6. I don't know if $50 is worth it for, like, that amount of characters. But that's not necessarily why I play this game. And my biasness, because of Ghostface, kind of messes me up. I don't want to mislead you, and I want to just be very transparent, kind of where I stand on that stuff. But, if you're going in just for the story, yeah, I mean, another thing, actually, to end this video, Took me about 3 hours, 3.5 hours maybe for the story. So like if you're just doing it for the story, you don't care about the characters, well, it's 3 hours. It's a 3-hour story. A lot of it's cutscenes. It's beautiful. It's a beautifully animated thing. The combat is freaking, like the actual cinematography, the actual fight choreography is just so good. So I mean, it's a 10 out of 10 in terms of presentation. They've always done, I would say, a good job. Like this last era of Mortal Kombat has been outrageously good in terms of the presentation. So all of that is there, and it's not weakened or lessened because it's DLC, but I just feel the impact of the story is lessened. And again, I feel like you set it up as such a major thing at the end of MK1, and then it's just such a B-side villain and B-side story that really doesn't matter at all, that why did you lead to this, right? Because you could have led somewhere else and you could have done something else, but you kind of wasted it on this. So that's kind of where I stand. I'm going to be coming back. I mean, like these 3 characters, I mean, I love Ghostface, and like I said, my biasness towards Scream, but like I would play as a T-1000. He looks freaking awesome. Conan the Barbarian, that's freaking awesome too. So, I'm very, very excited for those guest characters. And I think the 3 new ones we're able to play as, I like them. I can see myself playing as them. I mean, online, I'm just going to get crushed, so maybe just in my free time, but they are good fighters. They're good roster players, and I think we're going to get more good roster players. It's just, is that worth the price for you? So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.